We can educate, facilitate, or reduce the rate to incarcerate by reducing teen incarcerations by engaging youth in community service. Phase one would be educate, facilitate, reduce the rate, and engage the youth in our community. We can incarcerate them by enabling them or ignoring them. We can facilitate them through community or youth service activities. We can also educate them through the community through services to prevent incarceration of our youth. Okay. By utilizing community services, you can see that right now the rate for drug and youth crime has risen over the past 26 years. Also, again, as compared to the adult rates, because you see the youth rates has gone up tremendously. But we can utilize community service to reduce the incarceration, but let us discuss the risk factors that contribute to juvenile incarceration. Risk factors would be not regularly attending school, aggressive behavior, or disruptive behavior while you're in school. So you can have a kid that may need medication, maybe something in school, but they're not getting that information or they're not getting that services. So what happens is they fall through the cracks. So we have a system where it's designed to promote most of the kids that are that can catch on really quick. You have some kids that have disabilities that just cannot do it. So what happens, they just get dropped through the system, and that causes a high rate of drug use. Prevention methods. What does work? We have the risk factors basically saying that, mentioned by Bloomstein, that violence by young people, why the deadly nexus, National Institute for Justice, that young people of both genders who engage in these behaviors during early adolescence are at increased risk for drug use, juvenile delinquency, violence, and dropping out of school, and also teen pregnancy. An explanation of the crime rates would be as against blacks and whites, or non-whites and whites. Blacks rather. That which has occurred in the past 26 years, and as you can see right here, that if we do prevention right here, that works versus nothing at all. What does work is community interventions and preventions, as established by Lieber and Farrington. It's the study group, Never Too Early, Never Too Late, Risk Factors for Success, states that the study group examined 8 types of community interventions, citizen mobilization, situational prevention, recreation programs, policing strategies, and changes through mass media interactions. But my main focus will be on utilizing after-school programs, nonprofits, and governmental agencies or mentoring. As you can see, again, the crime rate has gone up in the past 26 years, but what can we do to reduce that? As you can see, the crime rate versus drug arrests and violent crimes for the youth has gone up as compared to the adults over here that pretty more or less, really murder says under 30%, but I don't believe that. Anyways, so we can support them by doing prevention, generally endorsed by practitioners, and stating that if we engage the youth as early as 15 years old, that by the time they turn 18 years old, they'll have more opportunities for them to be more engaged in our community. But without community support, there will be a rise in violent crimes. So what can we do? We can utilize youth service organizations. As mentioned by Durlac, it says that effective positive youth development programs on school, family, and community systems. It says that integrating research and practice to understand and strengthen communities for adolescents from the perspective of implementation. The authors highlight and identify some of the best practices in 3 distinct areas: young adult volunteers, and working in partnership with the community, nonprofit organizations, or higher tie organizations, educational organizations with community organizations as a side step to help them, mostly connected with the schools. As mentioned by Hamilton and Hamilton, work and service are common among young people. It would include informal jobs such as babysitting. They can cut the grass, something to keep them engaged within their community. One, it gives them some money in their pocket. Also, two, it keeps them from getting into trouble by doing something more positive than negative. 69% of youth are work and service organizations where they can pay at some time, but when they turn 15, the rate will definitely go up. When we engage our youth, kids need the community. They need positive support. They need an assistance with their careers. They need adults being able to teach them positive ways to earn money. So what can we do? We can bridge the youth and work together, beginning at age 15. Where can youth prepare for leadership? We have the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, 4-H Club, or they can do after-school centers or mentoring. Youth can be guided through youth-directed activities. According to Simon and Thompson, of young people in training for work, learning on the margins, it says, such courses are work-based, not in the same sense as being embedded in the learners, but we can also increase their motivation and provide learning through credibility. What doesn't work? Incarceration. We as a community can find positive ways to prepare our youth by building skills through community partnerships. That we can also engage them in prevention of youth incarceration. As noted by Harkins, stated in development to appropriate careers and guidance, building concepts that last a lifetime, work readiness skills will be learned through direct instruction, and it should be infused in the classroom curriculum. Also, they should be taught how to give back. That's a great impact for them, because when they give back, you can see just how much that changes their whole world, and how much they can engage with their communities. So how can we as a community continue to support our youth? There are methodologies that can be used to prevent or increase, but we're working on the decrease. As mentioned by Greenwood, changing lives, delinquency prevention as a crime control policy. Delinquency prevention involves reducing individuals' long-term proclivities towards crime and violence. Targeted those which have, little relationships with their families. Sometimes they're at risk, sometimes their parents are in jail, sometimes they're dead, or as you are in military, their families' dynamics do change and can change very quickly. So, we don't want to incarcerate. We want to educate and not incarcerate. Let's educate them, facilitate them, reduce the rate to incarcerate the youth by utilizing community services. That's it. I just need 3 questions.
I agree with what you said first, but I have kind of a multi-tiered question.
That's okay.
How would you recommend identifying and then facilitating and implementing program or programs for the at-risk youth, and also with the paying them and teaching them all that stuff on how to handle finances? How would you get around child labor laws that tend to get in the way of such programs?
Okay, so I'll use my son Patrick. My son Patrick is 14 years old. He's actually going through NC Works, taking cybersecurity class. It's actually free for him to go, but they're actually paying him a stipend of $32 every time he goes. So not only is he getting money in his pocket, he is also learning a trade skill that he can use later on when he graduates. So like I said, he's only 14 years old. I'm also a teen court judge, and I'm also a guardian ad litem, and I was telling him when you're worker here, that through that program, we have kids doing community service. They're not getting paid to participate, they're getting paid to reduce or expunge their records. So that's not exactly, like paying them by hand. They're earning a way to reduce a record, because if they decide they wanna go to the military, guess what? They won't be able to go with the record. So sometimes, well, actually, this is a second chance program, and so what they'll do is they'll go to the teen court, there'll be a juror, they will be somebody in the courtroom where they have to make a decision based upon the facts of a case. So they have to intensely listen, they have to be able to digest the information that they heard, not totally agree with what that person did, but give them a second chance to say, listen, we can try this way, and maybe you'll make a better decision the next time. Or they'll have classes called Making Better Decisions and Crime Prevention or something to that effect. But they do work. You guys have great programs here on Fort Bragg. We have a lot of recreation centers here. I think the kids can go up to 17 years old, but they need to have something else after that, or be able to skill train them so that they can utilize those skills for work at 17 years old, or go to the military if they choose to do so. Yes.
I'm wondering, do you have any data on if someone's a youth that was incarcerated, and what the rates are in adulthood to repeat the incarceration offense, where they would be, versus if when they were a youth and they were found guilty of a crime and they had an alternative punishment that was a community service, and their rates of adult incarceration?
I think it all depends on the crime. My understanding is I'm in pre-law right now, that even if a child as young as 8 years old, they will get charged with first degree murder if they have killed somebody. So there is no second chance for that person. No, they won't go to they won't go to big person's jail. Up to 18 years old, they will go through juvenile detention, and then after they turn 18 years old, they will be sent to big people prison. Now, if they do misdemeanors, that's what the teen court is for. Like, they'll do a phrase. Do you know what a phrase? And a phrase is a school fight. It's a fancy word saying you fought in school. 3 kids last week, marijuana. One was 14 years old, and they were describing that there was a roach, and I said, well, is the roach on the wall, or is the roach as in the marijuana? And I was very surprised that he knew what a marijuana roach was, which surprised me because I didn't think my 14-year-old knew that, but he did. But the point of the matter is this: that kid was self-medicating, and that was just telling your coworker here that the mom did not even know that the kid was using drugs. So the best thing for them to do is to get engaged early with community service. It is the hopes that through community service, like what they're doing to the teen court, they'll have a way to get their records expunged, and that record will not follow them, when they go, to the military. But if it's anything serious, as far as the murder is concerned, you forget that. They want to death for life, even if they're 8 years old. I need more questions. Yes.
You had talked about a target audience, at-risk teens. Has there been any proof or any of your research shown if you engage them earlier, does that have a better effect, or do you want to reach that almost adulthood type age where they're about to be on their own?
I'm a single mom of 6 kids. My youngest is 14 years old. My oldest is 32. 2 in the military. 1 was in the military Marines. It was very difficult raising them because of their dad left. So I can answer that from a personal perspective. My daughter, who's now in the military, she was one of the fastest runners on her track team. She happened to go into a neighborhood that they were fighting. Now they heard the cops coming, and she was the only idiot that stood right there and just didn't move. Well, the police called me, and they said, we have your daughter in the back of the police car. Now, as you imagine, it's a single mother. I'm just like, wow, But that was just a minor incident. But it was around that time that I decided to send her to the Youth Challenge program. I did that because, 1, I was single, and 2, I wanted to give her an opportunity to re-engage with herself. And so she went to the Youth Challenge 22-week program. It's a $14,000 scholarship, and she went away for about 22 weeks. After she left, she said she hated me for a pretty long period of time, but I didn't care. I was trying to save my child because I am a single mother. So the good news after that, she graduated from the program, and then a year later she worked at a prison. After that, she went to the military. But by the way, she met her husband while she was in the Youth Challenge, and then 10 years later they got married. So there is some pretty good things that come out of the Youth Challenge. But the point of the matter is this: she was able to have a second chance by me being proactive with programs just like these, because I was able to engage myself in community, activities enough to know about the Youth Challenge program. They got a Tar Heel Challenge out here, but in Georgia, it was the Youth Challenge, and I took a risk, and I feel I was very successful.